Sir Harry Seacombe presents a special edition of Songs of Praise.
Hello again. I've been given another chance to make my personal selection from the Songs of Praise vaults, so brace yourself for more stunning scenery and marvellous music. Hope you find your favourite hymn amongst my choices, but as I've had to narrow it down from about 500, it's not been an easy task. In fact, about as difficult as judging a beautiful baby competition. But one thing's for sure, you're not going to be disappointed by what I've got in store this week. Music has always been important to me. I love to sing, even in the bath. And I love to listen to others singing. During my time with Songs of Praise, I've certainly been spoilt with the sound of many much-loved melodies. So this week, there's an air of nostalgia to the programme, as our musical meanderings take us to Lincolnshire and the picture postcard setting of Stamford, to the West Country and the glorious setting of Exeter Cathedral, north of the border to Dornoch and a feast for the eyes. And here again my chat with an old chum, Frankie Vaughan. First of all, let's head for the Midlands and Coventry Cathedral in particular, resounding to more than 1,000 voices singing one of the nation's favourite hymns. relatively modern place of worship, Coventry Cathedral, still very much on the tourist trail. But Songs of Praise also likes to get off the beaten track to reveal some of Britain's best kept secrets, like Stamford in Lincolnshire. Although very much part of the 20th century, I discovered that it's like taking a step back in time and gives you a glimpse of what life might have been like in centuries past. In fact, Stamford has been affectionately described as a museum piece from pre-industrial England. The town has no less than 5 medieval churches, and the BBC made the most of Stamford's preservation by using it to film the period drama Middlemarch. In the 18th and 19th centuries, Stamford was a very important coaching post on the busy Great North Road. Some of the coaching inns still stand today as a reminder of those times. And did those feet in ancient time walk upon England's mountains green, and was the holy Lamb of God on England's pleasant pasture seen, and did the countenance divine shine forth upon our clouded hills, and was Jerusalem builded here among those dark satanic mills? Bring me my bow of burning gold, bring me my arrows of desire, bring me my spear, or clouds unfold, bring me my chariot of fire. I will not cease from mental fight, nor shall my sword sleep in my hand, till we have built Jerusalem in England's green and pleasant land. One of the privileges of working on Songs of Praise is having the chance to travel and to meet such a diversity of people. Last November, for our programme from Sherborne to commemorate Remembrance Sunday, I met a remarkable man. His name is Bill Griffiths. He told me about his involvement with the Royal British Legion, which was celebrating its 75th anniversary, and how the organisation had helped him personally after the Second World War. Now, there are a few moments in life that put everything into perspective. For me, this meeting with Bill was one of them.
A group of us were ordered to remove booby traps that were enclosed in a large piece of camouflage netting. There must have been 20 guards, all with rifles and bayonets. I and others just started to move the netting away, and there was a violent explosion.
Bill, you lost both hands and both eyes when you were a prisoner of war in 1942. You were 21 at the time, weren't you?
Yes.
Now, you served 3.5 years in a prisoner of war camp. How did you manage to face the future when you come out?
I found myself then, as a young man, growing rather discontent. Everybody else seemed to be so busy, quite rightly, getting on with life, on with the work, business and so on. And there I was, a young lad, just sort of cast to one side. Actually, I rather missed the comradeship, the fellowship of the prisoner of war camps. And I thought life was going to be pretty awful, until I met other young men, young women, who had been blinded in other theatres of war, who, just like me, seemed to be, well, they were indeed, struggling and being helped to refashion, remodel their lives. This is where the Royal British Legion have been so wonderful. They've kept that comradeship going over the years. It has indeed been a sort of an extension of that enriching fellowship I know in the prison camps. It's been wonderful.
You were awarded the MBE for your services to the community and charity, weren't you?
Yes, yes. And I remember after the presentation walking out of Buckingham Palace, and at that particular moment feeling so proud, so overwhelmed with gratitude at this, you know, at what had been given to me, all the goodness that was around me, and I don't know, life was simply lovely.
After all you've been through, you still felt like that?
Oh, very much so, very much so. And this is always very predominant in my thoughts when I go to the services, as it will be indeed on Remembrance Day, you know, this year, every year, when we have the prayers and we all sing together, Abide with Me. It really comes home to me, because my faith and trust in God and all the strength it's given me over the years to cope with the little difficulties in life, I'm so grateful for it. So it's so good.
Stirring sounds from Sherborne Abbey. No matter how many times I hear that hymn, it still makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. Now for some, memories of the war years will be dominated not by scenes from the battlefield, but by the mass evacuation to the countryside. Families were often split up and children sent to live in strange new places. Those that only known city life were suddenly thrust into village life. Youngsters from the East End of London, for example, found themselves in a very different environment of the Rhondda Valley in Wales. I must say that watching that reunion of 800 evacuees in our programme from the Rhondda brought a tear to my eye. Not least because it wasn't just a renewing of old friendships, It was an emotional reuniting with people who'd cared for you, who'd brought you up, who'd had an impact on your life. I'm convinced that this is why the hymn singing was full of such passion. Blessed Assurance from the Rhondda. I was a Lance Bombardier in the last war, so I can only guess what it was like to be an evacuee. But an old chum, the one they call Mr. Nice Guy, certainly knew what it was like to be an evacuee. I first met Frankie Vaughan in 1953 when he was a variety star. When we met up again recently in Songs of Praise, he told me why he's helped to raise millions of pounds for young people's clubs.
I was introduced to boys' clubs when I was evacuated during the war. I was running wild in Lancaster, and it kept me out of trouble. I learned to box and play football and do all the usual things boys do. They extended my life. I wasn't left to be bored or looking around for things to get into trouble with, and I've appreciated that. And over the years, I've tried to put something back into Boys' Club, Harry. It's as simple as that. Young boys and girls in this country deserve all the chances, certainly that I had, and if we can give them a little bit more, then it'll be better for us in the long run. How are you? You having a break now?
You've been known in the business as Mr. Nice Guy.
Sounds terrible. No, it's nice that we have the affection of our public. We're so very lucky, you and I. We've grown up slowly with the audiences, and they've grown up with us, and they're my friends, not my fans.
But you went to Hollywood in your heyday, and you played in a film with Marilyn Monroe,
Yeah.
and you could have been an even bigger star over there, but you turned your back on it. Why do you do that?
I suppose everything was laid on for me to be a major star there in movies particularly, and for the next, it looked like, then 6 years, I had a contract which would keep me in 2 movies a year and so on, you know, in Las Vegas and what have you. But basically, was it what we wanted as a family? That always came first in my life. It still does. It's all to do with values, Harry. You know, my parents were very good parents. Pretty poor. They both had to go to work, and I was left with Grandma most of the time, who was an amazing lady, worked and ran away from the other side of Kiev in Russia to land here with 2 little children. I was the first grandchild. I was a number Vaughan.
That's how you called yourself, Frankie Vaughan?
Yeah, it's true.
Light of the gathering, old chum, come on to the cabaret.
I was brought up by God-fearing people, and although we all have our different methods of praying to our God. If you're brought up with God-fearing people, you never lose that, because it gives you a way of life. It gives you rules to live by, values to understand and to pass on. I love my admirers, and that gives me great faith again. When I was particularly ill a little while ago, I just couldn't believe all the kindness and love that was shown to Stella and I.
That was Dornoch and the spectacular scenery of Sutherland. Now, you know, one of the most gifted young singers I've met in my time with Songs of Praise is Anthony Way, who shot to fame in 1995 playing the chorister Henry Ashworth in the BBC's lavish adaptation of Joanna Trollope's The Choir. Let's hear him again in fine voice, singing the Lord's Prayer in London's Covent Garden. Last summer, the charity MENCAP is celebrating its 50th birthday in Cardiff. They're holding a Jubilee weekend of activities for those with learning disabilities, along with their families and carers and other professionals. Thousands have come together from all over the country at the city's conference centre for a Songs of Praise celebration in the grounds of Cardiff Castle and for a day of sports and arts events. And it was good to see everyone singing their hearts out. With a considerable amount of years under my belt, I've had the privilege of singing and enjoying all kinds of music. But sacred songs and hymns in particular still remain central. People often ask me, what's your favourite? That's a difficult one for me because there are words and tunes for every occasion. But I think my next choice will be the choice of many. Dear Lord and Father of Mankind, sang in the glorious surroundings of Exeter Cathedral, a place of worship for 1300 years. Now, the secret formula of Songs of Praise is really no secret at all. Like you, millions of people watch each week because they enjoy the music in all its variations and because they enjoy meeting people with a story to tell. So do join me again next week for hymns from Bristol, Glasgow, Swansea and Norfolk, along with a chat at the end of the pier with my old mate from Nutty Ash. Well, I'm off for a cup of tea now, so until then, goodbye.
Comedy next on BBC One, Oh, Dr. Beeching.
This summer, lose yourself in the world's greatest music festival. The BBC Proms 97, broadcast live from the Royal Albert Hall, only on BBC Television and Radio 3.
Get ready for some serious fitness.
My doctor says I need to do more exercise. He says I'm not as fit as I think I am. Me! And if he says that about me, what on earth is he going to say about you?
The important thing is to be active.
I work out.
No doubt.
Everybody can have a go at sport. Even you, my friend.
I go into a tap dance. Get Fit with Brittas starts Friday at 10 to 9 on BBC One.
Now that's what I call fun.
The Great Antiques Hunt moves to Cornwall in half an hour on BBC One after we catch the train for Hatley.